Take a slice of the human cerebellum, the region behind your brain that controls balance. Photograph it under a microscope and place it next to a computer simulation of the cosmic web. The two images are nearly indistinguishable. In 2020, physicists and neuroscientists applied the same statistical tests to both structures and found that their organizational complexity is mathematically equivalent. You are, by measurable definition, carrying something that mirrors the architecture of everything. Most people carry a rough mental picture of the brain, a wrinkled organ, neurons sparking, thoughts racing like current through wire. That picture is not wrong. It is radically incomplete. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons. Each neuron receives signals from thousands of others simultaneously, weighs them, and decides in milliseconds whether to pass the message forward or go silent. The total number of connections, synapses, between all these neurons is around 100 trillion. If you counted them at 1 per second, you would need more than 3 million years. No civilization in recorded history comes close to that age. Here is something most people get wrong. For decades, the standard story was that neurons are only 10% of your brain cells, with 90% being glial cells, the structural support. That figure was repeated in textbooks for a generation. The same paper that established the 86 billion neuron count also corrected it. Neurons and non-neuronal cells are present in roughly equal numbers, about 86 billion of each. The old ratio was based on counting methods that turned out to be flawed. The neurons are the nodes. The network between them does the actual thinking, and they are not outnumbered. That network has a specific shape. It is not random and not uniform. Most neurons connect to a handful of others. A small number connect to tens of thousands. The high-connection neurons act as hubs, routing centers that move information across vast regions of tissue faster than any uniform grid could. Scientists call this pattern a small world network. What the name means in plain terms: information can get from any point to any other point through surprisingly few steps. Now leave the skull entirely. At the largest scales, the universe is not a uniform scatter of galaxies. It is a web. Astronomers call it the cosmic web, a structure of filaments, sheets, and intersection points stretching across distances so large that the numbers stop feeling real. Galaxies do not float alone. They cluster along enormous threads of dark matter, separated by voids, regions nearly empty of galaxies, sometimes hundreds of millions of light years across. The filaments are the structure. The voids are the silence between structure. The intersections are the hubs. The observable universe contains roughly 2 trillion galaxies. Most of them are strung along these filaments, concentrated at nodes where multiple filaments converge. The most massive gravitationally bound objects in existence. The scaffolding holding all of this in place is dark matter. It makes up approximately 27% of the total energy content of the universe. We cannot see it. We cannot detect it directly. Decades of purpose-built experiments have not found a single confirmed dark matter particle. We know it exists because of what it does, the shape it creates across billions of light years, and that shape looks familiar. In 2020, astrophysicist Franco Vatsa and neurosurgeon Alberto Faletti published a peer-reviewed comparison of the large-scale structure of the universe and the neural network of the human cerebellum. They were not looking for visual resemblance. They applied rigorous statistical tools and measured specific, non-obvious structural properties. What they found: the power spectrum of density fluctuations, a measure of how matter or tissue clusters at different scales, produce nearly identical curves for both structures over a specific measured range. In both systems, the flow of energy and information is concentrated in a similar fraction of the total mass, roughly a quarter to a third, with the rest occupying passive structural material, water in the brain, dark energy in the universe. Both show the same hierarchical clustering. small groups within larger groups within larger groups still. The clustering coefficient, a measure of how tightly nodes link to their neighbors, falls in a similar range for both. The ratio of dense regions to sparse ones is comparable. The researchers anticipated skepticism. They chose their metrics deliberately, properties that do not simply capture visual similarity, but underlying structural organization. The match holds under that scrutiny. The similarity is real. The mechanisms are completely unrelated. Neurons connect through chemistry and electricity. Synapses release molecules that cross tiny gaps between cells in milliseconds, triggering or suppressing activity. The entire system, every thought, every memory, every moment of recognition, runs on approximately 20 watts. The power of a dim refrigerator bulb. Your entire inner world on 20 watts. Galaxies are held in their filaments by gravity, not chemistry, by the warping of space-time across distances that light takes millions of years to cross. The timescale of a single thought is 10,000 times shorter than the blink of an eye. The cosmic web changes so slowly that a human lifetime is not even a rounding error in its history. Two structures separated by a factor of 10 to the power of 27. The number 1 followed by 27 zeros. Built by completely different physical processes, operating on completely incompatible timescales. And they are organized the same way. But why? The best current explanation is that both the brain and the cosmic web are solving the same kind of problem under similar physical constraints, without any plan, without any awareness of each other. Both systems need to move things efficiently across large networks. Both operate under strict resource limits. In the brain, biological tissue and energy budgets shaped by millions of years of evolution. In the universe, gravity, dark matter, and the initial distribution of matter in the microseconds after the Big Bang. When a network must move things efficiently and cannot have unlimited connections everywhere, the mathematics consistently pushes it toward the same organizational shapes. Hub and spoke clustering, small world topology, filamentary pathways with sparse, high traffic nodes. This is called convergent complexity. It is the same reason that river deltas, bronchial tubes in your lungs, and lightning bolts all branch in similar patterns. Nature keeps finding the same solutions because the underlying mathematics keeps pointing to the same efficient shapes. The small world network pattern, the one that allows information to reach anywhere through surprisingly few steps, is not a property unique to brains. It emerges wherever a network grows under resource constraints and rewards efficient routing. The universe, constrained by gravity and the speed at which matter can travel, lands on the same answer. That should be reassuring. It largely is, but it also means we don't fully understand either system. We know the general physics of why the cosmic web forms. The fine-grained details, why each filament sits precisely where it does, how matter flows within them at small scales, remain open. We understand a great deal about brain connectivity. We do not have a complete theory of how consciousness emerges from that specific structure. The structure is documented. What the structure produces remains in the most important way, unexplained. Two systems, same organization, both still partly mysterious. The cerebellum slices Vasa and Folletti studied are a few millimeters thick. Tissue samples harvested during neurosurgery, a few centimeters across at most. The simulated cosmic web region they compared them to is a cube roughly 1 billion light years on each side. 1 light year is about 9.5 trillion kilometers. Multiply that by 1 billion, and you get a 22-digit number. Human intuition stops working somewhere around 1 billion. The structure at those unimaginable scales organizes itself by the same rules as something sitting right now behind your eyes. The difference in size between a surgical tissue sample and 1 billion light years of simulated cosmic filament spans a factor of roughly 10 to the power of 27, a number that has no intuitive meaning. The difference in organizational pattern is not measurable. I'm mentioning it because it seems relevant to whether you should take this comparison seriously or file it under interesting coincidence. I think it deserves more than that category. At this moment, electrochemical signals are moving through approximately 86 billion neurons in your skull. Those neurons are organized into hubs, filaments, and sparse connections. That network is, right now, processing light, sound, memory, anticipation, and whatever you are feeling as you encounter these ideas. That same organizational pattern, hubs, filaments, clustering, voids, stretches across billions of light years of space, holding 2 trillion galaxies in place by gravity and dark matter. You contain, in miniature, the architectural logic of the observable universe, not the matter, not the energy, the pattern. Consider one more number. The Milky Way contains between 100 billion and 400 billion stars. The range is wide, because counting stars from inside your own galaxy is technically difficult. Your brain has 86 billion neurons. They are in the same numerical neighborhood. Meanwhile, the observable universe contains 2 trillion galaxies. The number of synaptic connections in your brain, 100 trillion, is 50 times that figure. The universe is enormous. You are not a small thing inside it. Structural similarity does not mean similarity in kind. 2 buildings can share the same floor plan and serve completely different purposes. The fact that the brain and the cosmic web share organizational patterns is real and documented. It tells us something genuine about the mathematics of complex systems and the physical constraints that shape them. What it cannot tell us is whether the universe is doing what the brain does. This is where science stops and something harder begins. Consciousness, actual subjective experience, the quality of being aware, is not understood. We can measure which brain regions activate during which experiences. We can watch blood flow changes in real time. We can map electrical patterns across the cortex with extraordinary precision. We do not know why those physical processes produce experience at all, why there is something it feels like to be you. This is called the hard problem of consciousness. It means that even a complete physical description of every neuron and synapse might not explain why experiencing anything is happening. The structure is there. The experience is there. The connection between them is not understood. If we don't understand consciousness in the one system, where we are the system, where we can observe it from the inside, then the question of whether the universe's similar structure implies anything similar in kind is genuinely unanswerable. Not now, possibly not ever, depending on what kind of problem it turns out to be. The question is that deep. It's the kind of thing that makes you reckon, quietly, with how much of what you want to understand you will simply never get to know. There is a line of thinking in some corners of physics and philosophy, surrounded by a much larger body of fringe speculation, that the universe might be, in some sense, a kind of information processing system, or even something closer to a mind. The evidence does not support that claim. I want to be clear about that. The Vasa and Folletti study documents a mathematical parallel in organizational complexity. It does not demonstrate that the universe processes information the way a brain does. It does not demonstrate cosmic awareness. Those are separate claims requiring separate evidence. The evidence is not there. But the structural similarity does raise a question that physicists are not dismissing. Why do these patterns keep appearing across completely different physical domains? Not just in brains and cosmic webs, in river networks, in the routing topology of the internet, in the circulatory system, in the way cracks spread through drying mud. Nature, constrained by physics and mathematics, keeps arriving at the same shapes. Either this is a deep structural truth about what reality allows, a kind of grammar written into the rules of the universe, or the convergence is so consistent and so precise that it amounts to the same thing. The distinction between those two interpretations is not yet clear. What is clear? The pattern exists. It is reproducible, it is measurable, and it shows up in the most complex structure we know of, the human brain, and in the largest structure we can observe, the cosmic web. What we do with that is an open question. And open questions, unlike closed ones, still have somewhere to go. Surgical samples of human cerebellum and a simulated region of space 1 billion light-years across were measured with the same tools. The tools returned the same answer: equivalent complexity, not approximately the same, equivalent. You are made of atoms forged inside stars. That is said often enough that it has lost some of its weight. What gets said less often is this: the arrangement of your neurons, not the atoms, but the pattern they form, mirrors the arrangement of the galaxies those atoms once belonged to. Before the Earth existed, before the Sun, the pattern was there, in the large structure of the universe. Then, after billions of years, the universe arranged some of its matter into something that contains the same pattern at a smaller scale. The universe built something across billions of years and billions of light years. And then, in one small corner, it built something that looks back